Hey everyone, I've been trying out a new game, and so far I really like what I see. The game is Tainted Grail, The Fall of Avalon, by Questline and Awaken Realms. It is actually based off a board game of the same name by Awaken Realms, which at some point I really want to try out as well. This game is currently in early access and is expected to be fully released sometime in the second quarter of 2025. However, it is done by a small indie development team, and as is always the case with smaller studios, there may be some delays that push back the full release. This game is a very dark, first-person open-world RPG, inspired by Arthurian legends. So far, I have found the story and the lore you learn throughout the game to be quite intriguing. I have also found most of the gameplay mechanics quite similar to other games I enjoy, which is very nice. It lets me enjoy the game and combat without needing to struggle through unfamiliar mechanics and controls. If you have played Skyrim, Elden Ring, or any of the other Souls games, or even Valheim, you will feel right at home in this game. The great thing about this game is they have a really good demo that I felt gave a good idea of what the game would be like. The demo is basically the full intro quest to the game, and it is in more of a linear dungeon style, but that works really well to introduce you to the game mechanics without causing you to feel overwhelmed. The demo ends at the completion of your quest, so you can take as much time as you want with it. You can also play through it as many times as you like. In the demo, you start off the game with a very basic character creator, and then after the initial cutscene, you find yourself in a jail cell. The first NPC you interact with gives you some dialogue options that will let you choose the style you want to mainly play as. Based on your choices, you get some initial boosts to some skills used by that class. Currently, there are 4 main options: a melee fighter, a ranged archer, a thief, or a magic user. Each choice has some further options to customize for boosts and specific skills. I went through the full demo a few times trying out the various different initial choices. The nice thing is, no matter what you choose, you are not locked out of any combat style. You may just not be initially as strong in that area, but all your skills will increase as you play the game. The more you use or do something, the better you get at it. For instance, the more you use a one-handed weapon, the more your skill in that skill goes up, and the better you will be. The same is true for the type of armor you use, or things like running, lockpicking, cooking, or sneaking, just to name a few. I found the combat challenging, but easy to understand. There are several levels of difficulty, ranging from story mode to survival. I chose to leave it at the normal setting, which, even though I died a few times, I did not feel that it was excessively hard. You just need to block or dodge often, and watch out for weaknesses such as headshots or sneak attacks on both you and your enemies. A lot of the lore in this game comes from letters or books you find around, so I highly recommend you take the time to read each one, otherwise you may find this game lacks some depth. You will also learn new recipes or get quests from the books scattered around, so it's well worth your time. This game highly rewards exploration. You find helpful items, recipes, quests, or just additional story from taking the time to look everywhere. A great example of this is right from the start. You are told to head left when you get out of your jail cell, but if you choose to go right instead, you get many additional items, including healing potions, food, and lockpicks that will help you open up several of the additional rooms back along the main path that you would have otherwise missed. Another great thing about this game is they have both full keyboard and mouse or controller support. You can also swap between them on the fly, so if you need to be more precise with your aim with a bow, you can just grab your mouse and shoot, and then go right back to the controller. Typically, I prefer to use a controller, and I found they did a really good job with its interface. It is not just an afterthought like it is in many games. Clearly, someone on the development team uses controllers. One very nice feature I noticed immediately was the weapon swapping. You can have 4 different weapon loadouts, and on the keyboard, you hit 1, 2, 3, or 4 to swap between them, which is very fast and easy. On the controller, it is the typical weapon wheel. But the feature that I like, which I don't often see, was you could toggle it to stay open until you choose something, and it actually paused the game when you were in the selection screen. So you can take your time and select the choice you actually want rather than rushing and accidentally misclicking. Graphics-wise, I found them to be respectable. The cutscenes are great and more artistic story-based than live action, which I think fits the theme very well. The scenery, while it's not top-tier realistic by any means, it is visually appealing, and the NPCs are reminiscent of old games with regards to their quality, but they were still well done and did not bother me at all, unlike some other new games I've tried recently. There is a bunch of clipping of things like plants and grasses through walls or floors, as well as clipping of armor, weapons, and hair, and the odd floating back weapon, but overall that didn't bother me too much. It also may or may not be cleaned up some for the full release. This game does have some high requirements if you want the top graphic settings, but I didn't find any issues using full high settings while also recording on my computer, which is now a few years old. I know they have been working on optimizing things to reduce the load on your computer, so it's far better than what it started out as. One thing I will say is this game is very dark, and I don't just mean the mood. The large range between dark and light at certain times of the day or night in this game is very overwhelming. This is one area I do not like, and I really hope they fix soon. The dark is too dark, and the light is too bright, especially if it's cloudy or raining. This is also really extreme during dusk and dawn, which can be a big problem if you are in the middle of a fight and suddenly can't see. Fortunately, the dawn and dusk cycles only last a few seconds, so it's not too much of a problem. It seems like they just need a bigger overlap between when the sun is out and when the moon is out. I also recommend raising your brightness a bit more than you normally would for this game, because it can be quite dark in the shadows and very hard to see what you're doing or looking for. You could also turn off the shadows or play around with the levels of them, but I found that did weird things for me anytime I was near a light source, so I personally don't recommend it. Hopefully they balance the lighting better as it transitions through the day and night cycles in this game in the future. Now, being early access, this game obviously does not have all the content yet, and I suspect many things will still be polished. It may also have some game-breaking bugs, although I haven't come across any bugs in this game so far. I think it's in a very good state for still being several months away from the planned full release. Overall, I have really enjoyed my time in this game, and I feel that even though it is still in early access, it is well worth the relatively small price tag. At the very least, I highly recommend you give the demo a try. Anyway, if you do give this game a try, let me know in the comments what your thoughts are, and thanks for watching.